Good evening. It's now 5 o'clock on the dot, and welcome to the May 13th Snoqualmie Parks and Events Commission meeting. I'm the current chair, Emily Anderson, and today's meeting is being recorded and will be available on the city's website. Thank you for joining us. Everybody here, anybody out there?
Is anyone online? Nope, just us.
Let's start with a roll call, including introductions. And I'll probably have just all the commissioners start and do like a longer introduction, and then everybody else can just quickly introduce yourselves too, so that the two new commissioners know who you are.
Is public comment after that?
It is.
Okay, all right.
So I'm Emily Anderson. I have lived in Snoqualmie about the lower end of the ridge, not a downer, but not far from it. For about 7 years now. I'm married, I have 2 kids and a golden retriever, and we're avid skiers and trail runners. And I work full time outside of this.
Yeah, great. I'm Hadley Everts. I've been in Snoqualmie for 3 years. We live right in between Snoqualmie Elementary School and Mount Si, so Meadowbrook. I love it here. I also, trail run, bike, ski, all the things. They're all just right outside our door, so it's hard not to. Wanted to get involved because I just think Snoqualmie is so special, and any way that I can help to preserve and maintain and just make it even more wonderful, wanted to do what I could. So I work full-time. I work for Starbucks in store operations, and I just got married a month ago, so newly married.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we don't have a dog, but I think we're gonna get one this summer. That's me.
Great, welcome.
Do commissioners first?
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, I'm Paul Swim, been on the commission since fall of 2014. And so I've seen quite a bit come and go. I've been on the ridge since 2011, Christy and I, and backgrounds in city planning, so I bring that to the group, and because of that background, which I still drag a foot in, I'm getting yanked into a lot of the King County Metro and Sound Transit and light rail stuff that's happening regionally right now, and I'm looking at how that affects Snoqualmie, and I might speak to that during the public announcement just to give an update. But we're trucking along here, and really glad to have a full group again, so welcome.
I'm Renee Price. I moved here with my 4-year-old in 2008 and pregnant with twins. So we've been here for a while, and we've been through a lot of stages in the valley. We've been on the ridge the whole time, and I am on the school board, and then I'm overly involved in other community events on a regular basis. That's my whole thing. Yeah.
Great, welcome.
Thanks. And how old is that?
Staff, do you wanna start? Okay, I'll start. I'm Jeff. I'm the Parks and Public Works Director. And I guess I've been in the city now for, it's 8 years. Fall City resident, and been an engineer for 30 some odd years and done a lot of stuff in the engineering realm. But kind of enjoy this. This is kind of twilight job, retirement job for me. So I'm kind of just enjoying this time at the city.
Strange, you're retiring.
Me?
No, I just mean workload.
Oh.
Retirement.
It's, you know what, it's a labor of love, to be honest with you. I work as hard or harder at this job than I did when I owned an engineering firm. But I enjoy it a lot more. So yeah, it's been a good experience for me.
Okay. My name is Dina Dean. I'm the city clerk. Been here for about 2.5 years now. I am a resident of Arlington, so I commute 3 days a week. I'm here, and then I work from home 2 days a week. So you're gonna catch me here Monday through Wednesday. So this week I'm gonna be here all week.
I have 3 kids in college. And I'm married, been married for about 29 years, and we have a dog, but he's getting up there, so. He's a little Malteshan, if you know what that is, little half Maltese Bichon. But other than that, life is great.
I'm Nicole Beebe. I'm the community liaison at the city of Snoqualmie. I've been here, well, this is my anniversary. Actually, the 15th is my anniversary. I came on May 15th of 2018. So I do a lot of events, community outreach, community engagement, and small business economic development. I've worn a lot of hats here in Snoqualmie. Last couple of years, I've kind of settled into my role, and I'm like, Jeff, I love the work I do. It's very satisfying, and this is a great community. I live in Redmond. I live in Redmond Ridge, which is an unincorporated county. And before I came here, I worked for the city of Redmond, and the work that I did was in bigger cities often have parks and recreation departments, and so I was in a parks and recreation department. I don't consider myself to be a recreator. There are people that actually go to school and that's their job, but I worked with recreation professionals for 13 years and park operation professional, which is Jeff's team. So I have a full grasp and understand the parks and recreation and park operations world. Maybe there's times Jeff wishes I didn't understand the park operations world, but I love it. They're good people.
I'll give you a second to settle in. Sorry.
And I'm Ethan Benson. I'm on the city council and I'm the liaison to this commission. I got a liberal arts education, so I have no actual skills.
You're an educator.
All right, welcome, Mindy. Yes, you're just introducing yourself.
I'm so sorry, I'm late. Amanda Frame, I just joined in March 11th. And I am a longtime Snoqualmie resident. Yeah, worked for AARP, so nonprofit world. Nice to meet you.
Hello. I'm Renee. I'm new too.
Yeah.
Renee and Hannah.
And Heather.
Also,
Oh, I see your name already. I saw your name with the meeting minutes
she just,
from the city council meeting. Okay.
yesterday, last night.
Oh,
7
fun.
p.m.
Yeah, you're now a veteran.
Excuse me.
Even after a month, you're a veteran.
You get a full commission.
I know, people. So Dina, does that count as roll call?
That is, and actually it takes care of, welcome and introduction.
Yeah, okay.
So we're
Check,
moving
check,
on
check.
now to public
Public
comments.
comment, do we have anybody out there who, well, they can't really actually speak, so they're just watching us. Do we have any submitted public comments? Anything
There's
that was
nobody.
submitted in writing?
Not that I.
Nope, that's how it needs to be done these days, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
I have something, can I?
yeah, do you wanna share a public
Something
comment?
I would like to.
Yes.
Putting on my transit planner hat, I plan on, not all the time, but on occasion between here and maybe at city council meetings at the public comment period to update folks on transit matters that potentially affect Snoqualmie. I was at the Redmond Link grand opening on Saturday where the 2-line of the light rail has now reached downtown Redmond. And there's I don't know how many of you out there or in this room keep track of those efforts, but we're going in the next 2 decades to have a line coming out to Issaquah of light rail. And I've spoken to the planner, transportation planner of the city of Issaquah. We had coffee a couple weeks ago, and the process for that will be starting soon, probably meaning within the next year or so, maybe even the next 6 months. Because typically the planning and the environmental review component takes place at least 12 years before the opening of the line and service begins. And so that, with Redmond Link opening and then with future expansions, that always rewires the bus network that feeds into that. And that's where Snoqualmie and the Snoqualmie Valley comes into the picture. And so I don't really have a strategy here or anything, but I just wanna pipe in on occasion and let folks know about what's headed our direction and how we're potentially affected by those matters, so.
Great.
I don't think.
Question about it.
Yeah, good question too. Go for it.
Yeah,
I just wanna make sure I heard you correctly. The planning for the Issaquah piece will begin in the next 6 months-ish, or
the planning,
okay, so it's
yes,
10 years out.
I think it was 2045, isn't it supposed to open? in
it's probably more like 20 years out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a public engagement component that Sound Transit and the city of Issaquah will do in partnership. And that I was told would start within the next year. It could be within the next 6 months. I don't know exactly when. I don't think he knows exactly when, but when something is happening and it develops further, I'll update you or the council. And
I think you can get updates from Sound Transit on that too.
Mhm.
They send every,
Yeah.
just get on their mail, they'll send you regular updates.
So
If we don't do that, we can Paul.
Yeah, you got Paul.
I'm very nerdy about things like that. So. Did you say that?
That was my question.
Oh, okay.
When will it be
Yeah.
coming to Issaquah?
Yep.
I won't hold my breath.
Mhm.
Sounds like it's still a while.
Will be a while, yeah. These mega projects take a while.
And then Snoqualmie, another 20 years after.
Yeah, to be done.
Yeah.
So your house,
It's time to be obsolete.
I was gonna say, we won't need it.
Oh,
We'll have flying cars by then.
it'll be like Star Trek, then
I can,
teleport.
I didn't go to the thing on Redmond, but I mistakenly went into town, like an hour afterwards, and I was like, oh yeah, what are you doing here? And you're going to Redmond Town Center, what are you doing here, Nicole? But later in the day, it was really cool to drive through town and some of the and to see a train running.
Yeah.
Cause I worked at the city at the time, I wasn't in planning, but just I know the energy that went into that project and an election and the funding. It was almost surreal to see it going across the track through my town. So.
It's really activating the downtown there, so.
Well, and the city planners have been working towards that for 10, 15 years, much of the development and all of the urban dense housing, and Jeff knows this and the work that he does too. It's like, that's what it's been going towards is a lot of that. Yeah, it's, and my husband's like, why can't we take it to the Mariner game on Sunday? I'm like, well, we're not there yet. Like, we still have some connections to make, but someday.
The I-90 component we're probably looking at winter. It got pushed, I think, to the first quarter of 2026. So you talk about the Mariner game, in my mind's eye, I'd either drive to South Bellevue Station and take that over, or take the back way to the Marymore Park.
Right.
Which is new garage, 1,400 stalls.
Correct.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, never have to see an interstate or drive on it, so.
it'll be interesting to see at what time in the morning the 1,400 spots are already full of.
Yeah.
But those are fun events to go to. I went to an after party after the grand opening at NPI Progressive Institute, and I walked a few blocks with Claudia Balducci and we chatted a little bit, so you run into some of those folks at those.
Yeah.
Council member
King County council member.
Okay, thank you.
on the Sound Transit Board.
Did I hear you correctly in saying that the problem that the I-90 bridge is gonna be resolved? Like that's going to be fixed by first quarter next year?
That's the latest update. Dow Constantine pushed it into the first quarter, so I was hoping by hockey season. I won't have to carry the bus to that Kraken game anymore, but unfortunately, first world problem continues. So, yeah. That's all I had.
Okay,
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Thank you for that.
Okay, sounds like it's okay to move on. So next is agenda approval, then your turn. Okay, so we're gonna approve the minutes dated March 11th, 2025.
First, we need to approve the agenda.
Oh, sorry, yes, approving today's agenda, thank you. So I need somebody to either make a motion to approve the agenda.
You do so.
Thank you,
There you
yes,
go.
yes,
Second,
great. So it was approved by Commissioner Price, is
Yes.
that your last name?
Yeah.
And seconded by Commissioner Swim. Thanks, guys. And it says all those that approve say aye. Aye. Sounds like nobody is opposed.
Not
Great.
today.
Motion passes unanimously for approval of today's agenda. All right.
Right.
Next up is the council liaison report.
I don't have a whole lot to report. I am excited that you guys have a full commission. That's really great. When you guys came to the council, you mentioned that you're working on the cricket pitch and figuring out how to make that feasible in the city. I think that would be enormously valuable to the city. There are a lot of cricket players in this town, and we don't have a place where they can consistently play, except for modified games. Sometimes up at Jeannie Hansen, they'll play modified games on their on the soccer fields. But I've heard ideas about having a pitch up at Jeannie Hansen, or perhaps a batting cage up at Jeannie Hansen. It seems like it might be feasible to fit one in at Centennial, but I think that if that was something that we were able to accomplish this year, that would be an enormous success for the Parks and Events Commission.
So our conversation really, in our last meeting was more around, providing not necessarily like a recommendation, but basically saying, yes, we support city staff in looking at the two parks that they had really highlighted as options, which was Jean Hansen and then Centennial. And some of the issues that came up were whether or not to include like a concrete strip, right? Which is what they would often want for a real cricket pitch. Because then it's placed in the middle of a grassy area that's also a field for other sports. So I think there's some way to go before kind of the city staff figure out what the next best step would be, is how I remember it.
Yeah.
Did you guys agree with that?
Yeah, if it was gonna be like a temporary pitch or a concrete pitch, and then how it would affect the Parks Department in terms of maintenance with it having in the middle of the field.
Yeah, much.
And then also competing sports and activities between Jean Hansen and Centennial.
Yeah, what we wanna do is try to find something, if there's a middle ground there, because we don't wanna put a concrete
Yeah.
pad, a pitch slab in the middle of our play field.
Mhm.
So we're thinking there's gotta be maybe another way. So if we can do, say, maybe some kind of something with a reasonable base underneath it and do maybe an artificial turf type pitch, or maybe a clay patch, something like that. I know the cricket players can roll out pitch, they can bring their own pitch, essentially, it's just the right dimensions, and it's essentially like a big carpet, which they can roll out on the field and they can use that. One thing, we don't want them pounding stakes through our artificial turf. All right, so we're gonna have to figure out, how that can work. So we're gonna reach out. We did reach out and talk to them once before, but we need to reach out to them again. Come with some ideas and try to figure out what's acceptable to them. And try to figure out, I'm still not clear about the exact dimensions of a cricket field. I don't think there is an exact dimension, kind of like a baseball field, but what is the minimum? What's the minimum that's required? And I know they can play on a small field for kids. I don't know how many kids are out there playing cricket, but
They are working on putting together a developmental league for kids. Yeah.
So that could happen, but how much room do they really need? I mean, could we use Jeannie Hansen, one of the soccer fields, is that enough room? And I think it's minimally enough room. Right, but I think they would like a bigger space if they could get it, but we just literally don't have a bigger space. Perhaps our best bet is Centennial. We think that's probably our best, field for it. It's got ample room. But I think what it's gonna take is just a little bit more coordination with the cricket folks and kind of try to figure out what sort of dimensions, how we would configure it, and what they'll accept for a formal pitch in the center of one of those fields.
Know that between the competitions that are increasing in our area, that are often overnight stays. And so those become an economic development opportunity for us to be able to host those. And then also the youth teams that are being developed here. That the people are very serious about all of those things, so definitely I'm very interested in making sure that if there is a way for us to provide professional level for them, that we do that. It offers an economic benefit in ways that other fields won't for the environment.
Great.
The grass field at Jeannie Hansen is not big enough.
I don't think it's big enough, but.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, professional level accommodations, well, I mean, somebody has to come and tell us what that is.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Well, I just know from another conversation that that's part of what they wanna be able to do tournaments, they wanna, and so, so maybe that's a question we could also throw their way, I don't know. I haven't been in this part of that conversation, but.
Yeah.
When something new like.
Yeah.
When something new like this comes up in the past, typically a group has come to this body to. Kind of go over the nuts and bolts of what they're after.
Yeah, who are they communicating directly with now, Jeff? You say that.
Well, with myself
people.
and actually Phil Bennett, our deputy director, has been kind of taking the lead on it.
Okay,
He's from England, so he's got a little more familiarity with cricket than I do.
Okay.
But, you know, I'm all for it. If I can figure out a way to do it,
yeah,
you know, so, you know, what it takes though is someone to do the legwork. And so, you know, we're working on it, and, you know. We haven't had a whole lot, I mean, initially we had them reach out to us and we talked to them. And I think that they've been reaching out in all directions, you know, with every city.
Right.
And I don't know, I think they were somewhat underwhelmed by what we have as far as, you know, meeting their expectations. And I think that they probably have higher or better targets than city of Snoqualmie as far as, you know, developing, because we just have limited space to build a cricket pitch. We've kind of developed all of our fields for other things, football, soccer, baseball, et cetera. So, you know, we have them somewhat partitioned. So if you have, you know, working baseball fields that we use through the summer, if you're gonna put a cricket field out there in the middle of it, it has to be put in a way so it doesn't completely impact, you know, the use of the other field. So, you know, we'll figure out a way to do it. I just don't know that it's gonna meet all of their high expectations, at least as far as maybe a professional level.
yeah. Do you get the sense that they'll, sorry,
Okay.
do you get the sense that they'll be kind of happy with the interim solution and right to kind of do a trial?
Yeah,
To
I
see
think
if a partner or
so.
two
I
might
mean,
work.
I played that old man's baseball thing for a long time, right? And they're always looking for fields, right? So you're looking for the dimensions, right? That'll work. High school fields typically work, you know, for old guys with wood bats, you know, that's fine. However, it also comes down to what sort of condition is the field, right? How well does it maintain? Right? So obviously the teams like to play on fields that are well maintained. You know, some fields are just really, they're not maintained well.
But then it also means that their actively used fields gonna be more crowded and then it becomes potentially a scheduling issue. So you know, like soccer tournaments going on and.
The other thing that we have is, I mean, I've long preached that we are an East Side city, we're just a little bit further out from Bellevue, Issaquah, and Kirkland, but what Bellevue, Issaquah, and Kirkland have that we don't is more field space. And I don't know what Bellevue and I don't know what Issaquah has, but I can tell you that Redmond and Marymore has lights. And so when you have lights, you can play games until midnight at night. We don't have that, so it goes into the scheduling situation. We have wanting to do more with less, sometimes you can't, I mean, we are all as staff, as I will also say with Jeff, I've been instrumental in bringing this group to attention. We want it and we want to try to help, but sometimes you can't put a square hole into a round peg. And do they want to be able to play on their home field? Absolutely. Do we want them to be able to play in their hometown? Absolutely. But again, we just might not have the park infrastructure in comparison to other cities,
Mhm.
so
Well, like
it's.
Issaquah has the Issaquah Highlands Park, I don't know the name of that park that's up there, but up on the ridge, that's huge and has lights, so they could accommodate that. But what.
And lights can be very controversial in the community
Yes,
as well,
they
like the
do.
one in Redmond is in a valley. where there's the rain, there's a word for it, you guys would know, but like the illumination, there's a word like it's,
Aurora.
yeah, and it's not affecting
I
homes
can't even get a
because,
street light on my street, so like there's not gonna add lights to the field.
can you imagine? I mean, we've talked about it as a community here in my tenure here, to put lights up at Jeannie Hansen. It's also,
Jeannie Hansen, there's
there's
pushback against
homes
it, yeah.
and it's expensive, and there's also been organizations in other cities that will help fund it. You know, leagues and stuff will help fund it, but it's, again, it's multi-layered, it's complicated,
So
sadly.
when we spoke about this on March 11th, I was thinking just like one field, like one playing field, okay, a team coming. But what you're saying is having tournaments here, and that's multiple
Yeah,
fields, and that is
totally.
making me think about this completely differently when you think about having tournaments.
Yeah.
And I am not even familiar enough with the sport to know what that looks like. I just know the conversations that I've been in with that for their goals. And Snoqualmie might not be the place that can do that. It's just a very good opportunity. I wouldn't be pushing them back to Issaquah or Redmond, but possibly another area here in the valley would have more field space to give to something like that. Also, I realized I shouldn't have said professional, just tournament. Those are not necessarily the same thing.
The only field that's lit around here at night, the high school,
But
Well,
there's so many restrictions.
park that
on
has a
lights.
field that would
Yeah, I
be
think that's right.
lighted. Alright, good to think about. Okay, now we're ready for approval of the minutes from March 11th. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from March 11th, 2025, our last meeting?
Just read over them on the way here, so I will motion to approve the minutes from March 11th.
Great.
I second.
Awesome. Any discussion? You guys are caught up. You guys were there. Okay, great. Motion by Commissioner Frame and seconded by Commissioner Swim to approve the minutes dated March 11th, 2025. Sounds like there are no further questions. So all those that approve say aye.
I
Right.
abstain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion passes then to approve the minutes from our last meeting. All right, on to,
Sorry, I didn't see this was regular business was cricket field, so sorry about that.
no, that was from last, that's from last
Oh,
night.
okay, all right,
No, you're
all right.
okay. Okay, on to new and regular business. First up, we have chair elections. So this came up at our last meeting. Paul, do you kind of wanna
Yeah.
mention what you talked about at the last meeting?
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of a background here. We a little bit of history. I was chair through COVID and held the group together with tape and popsicle sticks, and we made it through COVID. And then I was very enthusiastic to have somebody else take the reins. And so at the beginning of last year, Emily became chair. But then we didn't have a quorum after April,
Yeah.
and weren't
Lost a couple
able to meet as a
commissioners.
group and have a quorum until 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea, I think, is that we elect a new chair and vice chair at the beginning of every year.
Mhm.
And the beginning of our year was 2 months ago because we finally had a quorum to meet. So that's where we are, and
I think we could also mention that we went through a restructuring of sorts since our meeting from last April, a year ago. So it's
Right.
kind of exciting to be here and looking at things from a new perspective.
What was that?
I'm sorry,
What was that? Restructuring?
just sort of a recalibration, reevaluation of the purpose of the group.
Yeah,
Right?
We had a couple meetings, Emily and I last summer with,
so we were
Management
tasked
here.
by what's his title now?
Is
City administrator,
Mike Gemmel's,
Mike
yeah.
Jones, yeah, to take a look and repurpose the commission.
right?
Yeah.
And I think a component of that was there was so much turnover during COVID and it was new staff that everyone sort of had to get up to speed to kind of really have a full understanding of everything that we did. So it was a a two-way communication effort, and so we kind of recalibrated things and you're aware, but we're still a Parks and Events Commission
Yeah,
at the end of the day, so the group name stayed the same, but you know, just communication.
Have you recirculated those? The kind of the charter or the?
I have a copy of it here. We talked about it quite a bit at the last meeting. Anybody wants to nerd out and watch that meeting and know you already did.
I think it's useful, just so you guys really
Yeah,
understand
and so-
what the purpose of this commission is.
So I had a chance to take a look at kind of what's done in other cities. The surrounding cities, so I think I looked at Issaquah, Redmond, and North Bend specifically to see if they had something like a Parks and Events Commission and then how that entity worked. And got some ideas, just from watching those meetings, seeing, how they function. And so then Paul and I met, because we weren't a quorum, it was just the two of us, met with Mike to go over kind of our ideas and our proposals. So this was kind of our final recommendations and proposal of how this commission would look moving forward.
Right, do you need this back? Do you have more copies?
That is my only copy here.
Yeah.
It's not online, it's just something that we created, but I can absolutely give it to you.
That would be great.
Yeah, it's on my computer, so I can email it to you after today.
Thank you.
I just want the part for the priority list there when we talk about that, but you're welcome to look at it now.
And then, in one of our agenda items, I had some thoughts where that came into the picture as
Great.
well, so. But we're doing the elections right now, it's election season,
It's election,
Did
it's
everyone
election
campaign?
time.
so
Everyone ready with their slogan?
I didn't see any ads. So, we start with chair.
Yeah, let's start with chair. So we're electing a chair and a vice chair. It is, I think it's just open for discussion, you guys, if anybody has anything that they feel is really pertinent. If anybody is interested in running, can speak now. If anybody wants to nominate anybody else, you could share that.
Question for you, since you became chair, you said last year,
Mhm.
would that, are we making it to like a 1-year term, a 2-year term? Would you continue at the end of the year?
So I believe if this is still the case, Dina, the bylaws that I have say that you can, no member shall serve more than 2 consecutive elected terms as chair. It doesn't say anything about vice chair, but I'm kind of assuming that that would be the case for vice chair too.
I
2
don't
years
know
in
the
a row.
answer to that.
Okay,
I don't know that the bylaws are still valid because we updated the handbook.
okay.
But I think the handbook might cover it for all commissions.
Could we look up
Should we
the
pull
handbook while
that
we're
up?
talking about them?
I don't recall the vice chair having any limits, but maybe
I think you
What are
pulled
the
up the handbook at the last
responsibilities of
meeting, don't you?
the vice
I
chair
don't
and the
remember.
chair?
Okay, hold on.
Well, the chair runs the meetings is really the main responsibility and is the liaison between the city clerk and the group to set up the agenda. The vice chair is in my opinion, really just a supporting role to the chair, and in the event that in this last year, if she had been sick, I would have taken over the meeting or relayed the meeting being run to one of the other 3 if I had something going on. Because with since it's a group of 5, there's in theory could be a meeting that doesn't involve the chair or vice chair if there's some extreme circumstance, so.
Yeah, that's exactly
on
it.
page
So the
4.
chair runs the meetings and connects with Jeff about the agenda the week before. Yeah, thank you. I don't have internet. I can't. For a term of
Term of
1
1
year. Yeah, and then no members will serve more than 2 consecutive terms as chair.
Okay.
No member volunteers, and mayor has the authority to appoint a chair and or vice chair. So if we can't agree,
I would,
here comes Mayor Ross.
I'd like to mention that I think we're in a strange circumstance, not having a quorum until 2 months ago, so
Mhm.
if that says 1 year, the question then would be if we elect a new chair tonight, is that term taking us into May of 2026, or is it for the rest of this calendar year?
Yeah.
Or can we manipulate that and this is the rest of the calendar year and we'll figure out a new chair next January, or do we have the option of?
It's just as the first regular meeting.
Right.
Yeah, of each calendar year, that seems clear.
Seems like the last year of here got
Calendar year.
truncated, you know.
That's what I was thinking too.
Have you, do you know how long you can be president of the United States? That's
Right,
a-
as of now.
It's actually
Yeah.
10 years. It's actually 10 years. If you're, for example, if you're the vice president, and the president
Yeah.
dies or, and you take over in the last 2 years of his term, you can still run for 2 terms of,
Right,
2 full terms. So you can be president up to 10 years.
according to the Constitution.
And that's totally constitutional, yeah, and described in the 25th Amendment. But this seems like something like, you know,
Yes.
you had a great chair, and then the wheels kind of fell off on just people not being able to, you know, stay on the commission and keep quorum, so.
Right.
I don't know your history, but I do know that as a new person, sounds like you were the chair for a really long time,
Mhm.
that you didn't really get that term.
Opportunity.
But you have been here and you know the group and you know even how we got to this moment with the new handbook and and so I would be extremely comfortable with you just continuing on personally in that seat.
I would agree with that. I think this is now a new opportunity for you to really use your knowledge and skills into like being the chair for this group. This commission.
And if no one else wants to nominate Emily, I planned on doing it, but does someone else want to do the pleasure?
Oh, I think you should do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. You should do it.
I nominate Emily to chair for, I guess we're talking the remainder of the calendar year?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, do we need a second for that?
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
I
think-
Take your time.
Take a second, but
I second. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so are there any other nominations, or does anybody else have interest in nominating themselves to be chair? It's not sounding like anybody does. Okay, well, I've had a chance to think about it, and I would like to continue
Okay.
being chair and, yeah, get a better sense of that role. Besides the 3 months that I had a year ago.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we vote on it, I guess,
Yes,
so
this feels awkward since I'm
all
the person.
vice chair will step in. So
Thanks.
all those in favor of Emily as chair, say aye.
Hi.
Aye,
Oh, aye.
yeah,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thanks.
All right. You didn't even have to have a
I
campaign.
know, like my speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you wanna come up with a slogan post.
Okay,
post
fine.
election, we're good. Good sign.
Okay, well, thanks. Well, that's done. So next up would be vice chair. Do we have anyone who's particularly interested in starting as vice chair, as continuing as vice chair? Yourself nominating somebody else now that you know the role of the vice chair and what it entails?
I'm happy to continue the role, unless somebody else wants some experience and wants to step in. I'm open to that as well, so.
Very well, I think you're an excellent vice chair, so I can nominate
Thank
you,
you.
Paul, as vice chair.
And how many terms have you been? chair? You said
Just
your former
this
chair, just last year.
abbreviated one from
Okay.
last year until we didn't have a quorum anymore.
Okay.
So
So you just
then I was a
flipped.
roving vice chair,
Yeah.
So
no group.
Yeah.
I was not an elected member before that. We had somebody who is no longer part of the commission, who was the vice chair with Paul.
Okay.
Right,
Okay, well, Paul, if you would like to continue being vice chair, I motion to nominate you as vice chair,
okay,
starting today through the remainder of the year.
Great, I'll second that.
Okay?
Okay.
I accept. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to
Someone
nominate
else?
themselves?
Yeah.
For vice
Not
chair?
at this time.
Or you guys are okay? The chance
Now,
will be coming
next
up in
year, he
January.
and I are going to be.
Next year will be better.
We will have to get out the canopy.
Yeah. I've like.
Can't get through.
It's huge.
That's right. Oh, good, good. I like that.
Like the light up Halloween ones.
Did we vote on that?
We did not.
We did not, no. Okay, so all those in favor of Scott being vice chair of the commission, say aye.
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 I abstain.
Yeah. Okay, it sounds like then, most of us, vote yes and think that it's a great idea, so majority wins.
Yeah, I do think it's a good idea, but I just felt like abstaining, just to be difficult,
Yeah,
so. That's what I do.
Thanks.
all right.
You have to
Thanks,
type
everyone.
in a few more keys. I just wanna make the city clerk work a little harder.
Okay, next
on.
up, next order of business would be the commission priority list. So I got to share this with you. I'm gonna share this with Hattie. So this is just the first time you're seeing this.
Alright.
But these are some of the ideas that, really Paul and I in our collaboration last summer, thought might be a good place to start. A lot of what we're going to potentially generate, in the next few minutes, you guys, has to be, said in front of or in conjunction with Jeff here. Because it's very contingent on budget and, person power, and what's available and what makes sense, with city staff. But this is really just a place to kind of generate ideas, and interest and to see kind of what's possible.
I think it's also important to note that we have recently completed a parks, recreation, and open space plan, growth plan. And it has laid out the majority of our plans moving forward with priorities. So, the things that, we decide on as a group needs to comport somewhat with that growth plan. So it'd be a good idea for each of you to review that. It's actually a very good document and it's very informative. Has community survey information in there, and it has a rather extensive and exhaustive analysis of the different options that we've considered. So give you a lot of good information there.
Yeah, and it'd be helpful for you guys too to read it just to catch up, because Paul and I were kind of involved in that, just being on commission from like throughout the whole process.
I was.
And that's on the website?
It is. Yeah.
So how does that affect this evening with the agenda item?
So for example, in the pros plan, when we're talking about maybe like playground management or how to prioritize which playgrounds, parks to like maintain, all of that is actually kind of in order in the pros plan based on the need of the playground. And then the next step, as far as I understand it, would be like what to then how to utilize that space for each playground or park. And that's what at least I heard Dylan talk about last time, where we could potentially be helpful.
Yeah, we want input.
Yeah.
We don't want to work in a bubble. Alright, so we've got some good information. We know how to do it, obviously, but there's gonna be a lot of decisions to be made between, starting a project and ending a project. There's 1,000 decisions. And so having just another group of folks who are focused on parks and events and how we're gonna use it, then that just provides us good input and allows us to have some support moving forward with our decisions. So we'll look forward to kind of, bringing these forward to you as we move forward. And if you want, I can talk to you about what we're doing right now.
Please, yeah.
And
I
that
think
might
could
be
start.
helpful for you guys to get the ball started.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Can I interject?
Sure.
And just before we drill down a little bit, I wanted to throw my thoughts on a macro level at this discussion to see if there's any validity to having an expectation when we come back to this on an annual basis. Just some notes that I wrote down on I guess I'm calling this a work program for the year.
Okay.
Let's say. Considering in the first meeting of every year, a work program for that year's commission, like what this discussion is. It'd be predicated with a review and assessment discussion at the prior year's last meeting. With content from the chair's annual report to council. At the end of every year, the chair is asked by the mayor to report what our body has done for that year to the council, just to give them an update. And I thought that in our last meeting of a calendar year, it would be good to use some of that content to kickstart and segue into the first meeting the following year when we try to set the table for our goals for that year. And would give commissioners time to ruminate over the holidays about their ideas to bring to the first meeting of the year as well. I think it would also be a good time in that first meeting to review the year's meeting frequency and day of the week and time to make sure it's optimal for everyone's time. You know, currently we're meeting every other month, in which I think is a good consistency, and with the idea in our off month that we're working with the council committee and engaging with them. And then that would also coincide with the election of the chair and vice chair. So of course, we are in May, looking at the rest of this current calendar year, but it seems in my mind's eye that it would be helpful to try to establish this as kind of setting the table for a work plan for the rest of the calendar year when we first meet after the new year.
I like looking ahead at it like that, being able to plan quite a bit. My only suggestion would be, we can talk about this closer too, would it be better at the last meeting of 2025 to look for meeting times and kind of schedule versus doing it at that first meeting in January, but we can figure that out
Sure,
much farther in a year.
right, definitely, yeah. So before we drill down, I wanted to try to kind of throw kind of a 40,000 foot view at it a little bit. So.
And how does that apply to this year, would you say? Like, do you think we're on track? We had a conversation I wasn't there, but you guys had a conversation last time. And now we're here to like discuss that priority list for the year, or like the work plan? How does?
For the rest of the year, so this is May, so we have May, July, September, November, so including tonight, we have 4 meetings left, 3 after tonight.
Sure.
Mhm.
Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, even though it's truncated, I see this discussion tonight as our goals for the rest of the calendar year, and maybe with staff input, some things won't be realistic to go after for the rest of this year, and we'll defer that to the following year, but that would all be part of the discussion, I guess.
Great.
So.
Okay.
Jeff, I'd love to hear more about
What's coming?
Okay.
what's coming up. I
Yeah.
loved hearing about the parks last time, the 3 parks you guys were looking at.
Yeah, okay. All right, so do we need to do anything with what, because I'm not clear on what you were saying, your goals for the year?
What I see this discussion of is kind of like a work program for the rest of 2025.
Okay.
Is that what we're trying to talk about?
I would say let's keep it fluid and
Right.
yeah, and that this might be, I don't know if we could say that this is like an established formal work plan.
Right, no,
I'm
it's a
more comfortable
discussion.
looking at it like these are ideas and it's kind of draft of potentially what we're looking at for the remaining 3 meetings.
Right,
But
fluid, absolutely.
I do think
yeah.
it's really nice to look ahead to January of next year to see if we can then kind of get the ball rolling and be like, okay, every year we're gonna look at it this way and have more of a work plan.
And
So I mean,
we,
kind of incorporated both sides.
because we're a little bit late in the year for a bona fide work plan, I guess, so. We're
Yeah.
having to pivot a little bit,
And we really haven't looked at it this way before, so I wanna give us a little wiggle room
sure,
to kind of figure out what that looks like.
does that help?
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah.
It's all kind of hinging on.
Yeah,
what's
I
coming
kind of
up.
think, yeah, so yeah, the way I'm planning this to go is that, so we're gonna kind of set priorities, right? Staff is gonna
Mhm.
set priorities based on the pros plan, right? We've already prioritized our projects, right? And council and other people direct us on doing what we're supposed to do. So we'll set that direction, right? But we want you guys to support or to get your support or your input, right? One of the key factors about a commission is that we need you to function as kind of liaisons with the community,
Mhm.
right? Because you're out in the community probably more so than we are. I mean, we're very visible, we are involved in all of the public meetings. But we do have the occasion to meet with the people, the residents, but so do you, and so we have a message to broadcast. And you guys can help us do that and get input from the community members and bring it back to us to help us. Okay. So I guess to get back to what we're starting on. There's a few things that I think we can talk about tonight. One, community center. 2, dog park. 3, cricket, which we kind of touched on already. And number 4, playgrounds. And let's start with the community center, because that'll be a quick discussion. There's not a whole lot I can tell you about the community center because we're waiting on funding. We are hopeful that the King County Aquatics Grant will come through this year. We'll know in right around the end of June whether or not we got a grant and how much that grant is. We have a gap right now. The city has amassed a certain amount of funding. And we have other funding sources that are out there through private partnerships and some other public monies. And I still, a few $1 million short. So if we get a grant for and we're asking for $5 million. And if we get that grant, we probably are very, very close to completing to getting started. I don't know that we're gonna get that for $5 million. So there's guaranteed to be some small gap. I think what council and Ethan can probably, fill us in on a little bit more, but what I heard council say at a previous council meeting is that what they haven't seen yet is a significant groundswell of support from the community for this thing.
Yeah.
Right? And really to get council to buy in on what's essentially kind of a luxury item for the community, they need to hear from the community that this is what they want. And there's gonna be some lifting to happen. So, but yeah, I think one of the jobs that this committee or this commission can do is to kind of help generate support, get the message out there that if you support the project, get people involved. Because, we have our open houses and we have a lot of community meetings and it
Yeah.
seems like it's the same 25 people show up at every one of those meetings.
Exactly.
Right, so what we need is, if the support's out there, we need to hear it. One thing, I think a lot of people think it's a done deal, they're like, when are you guys starting that? They just figure it's already a done deal, and how come you guys haven't started?
Yeah, they're none the wiser.
They don't know.
They need to be informed as such.
Do
Right,
you think there's an opportunity at the June 6th event for the splash pad to share out
I think
information
that's a
or
great
like have signage
I think
or
that-
listening post or something like that? Because you're gonna have
that's a good idea.
so many residents that's close to the end of the school year, Cascade View and Timber Ridge get out at 1:35.
Mhm.
And I know it's been shared out a lot to families up there.
That's why we,
People are
that's why we did it on
Yeah.
that
On that
Friday.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah. The interest, I'll just say the interest in the splash pad has been like more than I think we could have imagined. Like, we posted a video when we turned the water on for the very first time.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to go back and look at, I wanna say I guess for our standards as a city, it went viral, like
Yeah.
it's
People are
huge.
excited.
And I actually talked to our city administrator today about doing some advertising I do a lot of advertising in Seattle's Childs. And he and Jeff, I haven't even had a chance to update you on this, he goes, I want to, I love it. But can our staff handle if we invite that many people more to the community, right?
Handle it, because that's also.
Right, so the attention, I mean, I've had a lot of moms already contacting me, you know, I'm a birthday party, blah, 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 but. I think the splash pad, we can make room for that at the event to do some like an outreach post and.
Mhm.
I will say it was 2 years ago at the block party, which we did in September on the Ridge, and Mike Chambliss is our city administrator, and he's also, this is one of, he has a swimming background, like water sports is like one of his personal passions, so this is like, this is very passionate for him. And he was at the event, and when you talk about community feedback, we were very, very busy that day and had a lot, it was before the splash pad too was voted in, a lot of engagement, a lot of positivity towards both the splash pad and the pool, and it was fascinating because it was across the board in ages, like there was even middle schoolers and high schoolers that, which I don't know, a lot of us here have kids, how often do they walk up to a government official and say, I really want a swimming pool, you know, and they're a middle schooler or something. So I think if Jeff is saying, like, we need to get the vote out or get the community, like we can give them an opportunity to talk. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack and talk for so long, but yeah.
No, I mean, just definitely using upcoming events. I even think about like the National Night Out, so Snoqualmie PD did it. Well, they're not gonna be doing it in North Bend, but maybe.
No, but it's in Snoqualmie this year, it's Central,
Last year
yeah,
it was.
yeah,
But if it's up at the same spot it was in
It will be.
2023,
yes.
again, you're right there where it would be. Another opportunity to
Well, I
get
think-
people excited.
When would we know about the King County grant?
And end of June.
End of June,
Yeah.
the splash pad would be
Yeah.
a great, the other one would be, Big Truck Day.
Big truck
Big
day.
truck day,
yeah.
Very
Yeah.
intense in July because, you know,
Yeah.
based on that grant, that's when we're going back to council. I'm sure we're gonna be heading back to council and saying, this is where we're at.
Jeff, come hang out with me in all these events, I know it's exactly how you wanna spend your evening, you
Sure.
know?
Sure.
And I know we're gonna talk.
Or you guys actually,
item on
that would be an
this
invitation
later
for
in
you
the
guys to
agenda.
hang
Do we
out.
want this drill down further on?
Yeah, but
And when we
anyway.
reset the
Yeah.
agenda item?
Community center?
Yeah, number 5.
Oh, okay. Well, I
Or
mean,
do we
we
wanna
don't have to
talk about
really
it now?
follow in that order, do we? I guess we're at,
You
that's
said
where
you
we're
wanted
at.
to
We're on
talk
number
about it
5
now.
right now. Yeah.
Should we just talk about it now since we're on the subject or?
I think that's where we're at in the agenda.
Yeah.
I got 2 questions.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the pool, but do we have a sense of the level of support for the pool in the community?
There was a whole
I-
survey.
You know, I
Big
would say
question.
some people probably
Sure,
say
yeah.
yes.
Okay,
I don't, so I'm agnostic, right? I'm staff,
yeah,
right? I mean, I don't have an opinion as to whether or not we should build it or not build it. It's not my decision, right? It's up to the community to decide that.
and I'm not posing the question of like, should we even do the pool? Like, that's not at all what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I'm just, when you said that the council wants to see the support, do we feel that we have the support? Is it about building support, or is it just about voicing what we know people are kind of saying, maybe privately or not towards the council? Does that make sense?
Even about voting, like.
It's, you know, your question is a really important one. And the way you gauge whether or not there is support is something that has been something that we've debated in council. If you put out a poll and say, oh, we've got 70% of the people who are in favor of the pool, and then you drill down into the poll questions and it's, do you like pools? And yeah, and it's like, no, which is a total sarcastic simplification of the question. There's a difference between asking, would you like a pool, and would you like to pay for a pool? They're different questions, and there are different levels of enthusiasm for that. There are a lot of people who are very, very passionate about the pool, and they want to have a pool in the community. They see it as a safety. We're right next to a river, and if kids don't know how to swim, that is a safety issue, and they see it as a public safety issue. There are a lot of people who also see it as an extravagance, a luxury that is really expensive. It's a very expensive project to add the pool to the city. Both of those extremely different positions are absolutely valid. And where the numbers come down is difficult to say. There have been 3 different measures on the ballot to fund it through bonds over the past 18 years or something like that. And none of them have passed. Those require a supermajority, 60% to pass. And
The last one was pretty close, though, wasn't
it was pretty close.
Right at that point
Pretty
where,
close to no.
Yeah, pretty close. So
Right.
but also right
But
at
it
that
wasn't a
point where we were
landslide.
getting to more voters in Snoqualmie than outside of Snoqualmie, and we've tipped over into that space for a
Yeah.
while now.
So, yeah, so it's one of the, it's just a very expensive project, and where to find that extra $5 million is a real challenging question.
Yes. So what I would ask the group, it sounds like we have some time sensitivity happening here as far as this commission taking some sort of action to support this project in the form of fundraising ideas or anything else.
Yeah, fundraising is definitely, we support the pool. If you have ideas about fundraising, then that's something that I'm sure the mayor would love to hear.
And the fundraising, in my mind's eye, sort of goes hand in hand with generating support from the community, potentially, depending on what you're doing out there. Can I go over a few things and I had conversations with the mayor at the open houses about this last year, but I thought it was best to do it in a commission setting, and then there wasn't a commission forum, and here we are. So Splash pad grand opening on June 6th seems like an opportunity. Fundraising dinners, silent auction, and this might just sound dumb, I don't know, I'm just brainstorming here. And if you do that, maybe consider contracting with a fundraising specialist who could MC that and keep that frog leaping. Other community involved fundraising events, I can't think of anything beyond fundraising dinners and silent auctions. I mean, there are wallets out there in the community that might attend these sorts of things and participate. Fundraising events with partners such as the YMCA, Snoqualmie Valley Hospital, or other health or welfare-based organizations in the valley. A legacy brick program. Pool naming rights.
Meaning you pay to have your name on a brick that's part of the development.
Yeah,
That's right.
They do public projects.
Yeah.
I have that at Cascade View.
Pool naming rights, we spent some time in Sun Valley, Idaho, at their Y there, and the pool is named after a family there because they made a contribution. For that matter, you could have room naming rights, locker rooms, gyms, other spaces. Sell every room in the building to throw money into the kitty, so those are just some thoughts about if, heaven forbid, if this project doesn't happen, I would be very disappointed if this commission hadn't thought outside the box a little bit and made a push and made some efforts to help it along. I would be disappointed if we didn't do something,
We're also,
so.
so those are, I think, great ideas. One question would be for something as specific as like a silent auction or kind of a night out, who's hosting it, right? Who's putting forth the funds to kind of get that started.
Right.
Because an event like that, you obviously want it to be nice and classy, and that is pricey.
And I don't know
potentially
much
put on.
about it, other than I've heard of them and I've been to a couple,
I can
so.
tell you from putting them on myself, they're incredibly expensive, and I don't even know if the government, like, being a government entity, like what the involvement was going to be. Just because I've worked for a 501c4, there's so many rules
There could be a
around.
conflict of interest.
There's
Yeah.
just, there would be a lot of conflicts around it. I mean, I don't know, you guys would know more than me, but I just know there are issues with that.
I know, I worked with a colleague once that came from the Tri-Cities area and they had a community center that they were able to build, but that was about it. And so it was done with sponsorship, you know, like the kitchen needed a freezer, so the local appliance store donated it, like that kind of thing, like they went through the whole building and everything was donated that way, but in my experience with government, I've never been in a situation where we're doing naming rights or anything like that. I like to think that if someone says, here's $1 million, put my name on the building, that we wouldn't reject, you
I think
know?
we
Well,
jump
I
on
work
that.
for an organization, another city, and we accepted donations all the time. I mean, the fire department specifically accepted donations, and so with it, I mean, it wasn't an issue. The finance department just provided a letter accepting the donation, providing the federal ID number, and it goes into a special fund, and
The city council,
Paramedics, I'll say, this rescue brought to you by Bronto.
Sponsor shout outs on the fire blotter.
Yeah. What about something at the club? Like, can we put that just down as an
The club?
idea? The golf course, yeah, the golf cart. Club.
Like a dinner or something?
Yeah, just seeing if they could be willing
If
to
they would
host
consider
something
hosting.
or, yeah. Some type of event there.
I was gonna ask you, was there anything in your time with the school board that might generate an idea?
Hey, yeah, what about that? Yeah.
we got lots of money, right?
That's also a little bit of a contention thing, right? Snoqualmie Valley Schools.
So our,
As far as fundraising, raising.
so.
You were saying?
Our official position is we support the valley having a pools. We're, yes, pools are great and we want our valley to have them. And from like a school standpoint, you know, we work with all of our communities that are in our district and we absolutely have no way to give thumbs up, thumbs down to any one community in this, so so from the school directly, but that's not something that,
I wasn't trying to
Yeah.
press you on a position.
no, I'm like,
I'm just trying to
I
generate
know,
fundraising
like,
ideas.
but just
Yeah.
generate fundraising ideas, there are always, gosh, there are so many things that schools do. And they usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, it's become very common to hire a company that has a whole package of like, this is how we do fundraising and
And they can just run with it,
and they, yeah, and then
Yeah.
you have volunteers and you have, and it goes.
because you don't want city staff getting time
Yeah.
getting sucked into that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's,
and the expertise.
and it,
If that should-
people often like kind of say, oh, well, it costs money to do that and it could go to the, no, because it costs money to do it, whether you pay somebody to help you with it or not. And so, okay, it's an investment
Mhm.
towards a fundraising. And that's definitely how I would look at that. There are a lot of ways to go. If you wanted to do something like a dinner event, with an auction, I almost feel like that's like a saturated market, like
Okay.
good luck finding a weekend, you know, a month when there aren't already two of those and
Okay, good.
but there might be other ways to tie that into something that the first thing I'm thinking of is like some kind of farm support where we're getting local ag goods into the community and people are buying those and part of that is going back to, and then that could be anything. That's the first thing that came in my head.
Like an event at a local farm?
Either a farmer's market or we could have
Like the proceeds from.
proceeds
Yeah.
from, yeah, kind of a thing, and that could even be brought into like a summer festival event or something like that, so. of course, that is still planning and, but yeah, proceeds go towards kind of a thing. I would lean in that direction personally.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just throwing things out there and for all I know, these are fool's errands and
I have.
nothing can happen realistically. And then the time sensitivity aspect. I'm just trying to kind of get a read on, you know, could this realistically, could we put a package together of fundraising ideas and
I think that's a good idea. I mean, get a list
bring it
together,
to the council?
think about each of those items. You know, try to envision how that might go a little bit. And I'd forward it to the mayor's office, and then she has some staff that would kind of evaluate that and help mobilize that effort. And then probably grab all of you to help, right? Because
Would this be
takes manpower.
commission-led fundraising efforts or?
I think
That's a
generating
good question.
ideas, it sounds like.
Initially, yeah.
And there is a lot to be said for finding strong sponsorship support from people who are focused on public safety, on kids, on athletics.
And economic development, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people
Economic
see this project as an economic development project for the Ridge. Right, because it will draw a lot of people. I think they have cell phone data, which indicates that, what was it, 70% of the people who go to the community center go to Safeway right afterwards, right?
That's right.
So.
Involving the merchants.
So the merchants that are on the Ridge are benefiting from it, so maybe those folks would like to pitch in to help.
We see
Advanced
some of
study.
that from Snow King.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of families that come, I met a woman at Safeway one day that she lives on Restore Haven and she was doing her grocery shopping at Safeway because she comes up here and she's waiting for her son in hockey practice. She has a full cart of groceries. So, yeah.
Right.
That's
And something like the legacy brick program we're just kind of rolling suggestions into kind of a package that
I think we
should we
just
bring
make a
that to
list-
the
make a list
the
of
legacy-
ideas.
next month's committee or is it even more time sensitive than that and bring it at the end of this month? Or does the committee have a role, you think?
Well, I think, you know, this is a regional need. You know, we need more pools in this region, and nobody's building them. And I think probably the biggest opportunities that we have for getting the kind of money that we need is going after regional money. So if we had citizens, you know, writing to their county councilman, to their state legislators, those are the kinds of things that, you know, this kind of money. And there are politicians that are interested in fulfilling this need and getting this done, but they're just not moving on giving us the money. But the great thing about that is that Snoqualmie has the lion's share of the funds in place, and so it's not. This is everybody wants to be the last one in on these projects. They want to be the ones who gave the last bit of money that made it happen, and so I mean that's probably
Get it over the finish line.
Probably the most effective way to potentially do that is by trying to influence those decision makers in the county and in Olympia to finish
Yeah,
this.
that's a really good point, because we have not got the grant yet, right? So
Okay.
county is looking at a lot of applications. We're one of several, but if we were to max out the grant, which is $5 million is the max. If there was enough community support, maybe a letter writing campaign or something like that, that might.
Or even a letter from the Parks and Events Commission,
Yeah, you know,
you know,
we would
and
need
signed by 5 commissioners
Mhm.
saying our committee needs this. our city needs this, the region needs this, and our city is already prepared to do most of the work, we just need help getting over the finish line.
Would that be before they make the decision on the grant or?
Do that
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah, like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And an address,
To send it to.
yeah, who to send it to, and then
I
maybe
get
some
that.
key bullet points of what to
Yeah.
include.
I would also suggest that you run this letter, whatever letter you guys put together by Mike Chambliss, the mayor,
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Jeff. and-
representing the city, in other words.
Yeah, but making sure that you're properly representing what the
And we need
city's
some vital statistics to work with.
We have all of that, I
Yeah.
mean, the grant's loaded with that, right?
Okay,
Jeff, what was the letter that I signed?
Yeah, I feel like,
That
a
was,
month
did
ago?
we
that
not,
was from.
yeah, we did,
from-
right? I was sitting here
We did do
asking
that.
Dina,
We did do that.
yeah, we
Yes.
got one from you guys, we did one from EDC. Yeah, you did one.
Yes.
It was included in
Okay.
the grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I
then
don't
maybe
know.
we don't need the letter?
I feel like letters
Well,
never
letters
hurt.
from others,
It
right,
could
you know?
be, put
Like
this
the
on
entire
Facebook
commission.
the letter
or
didn't come
share
from the
it.
body entire though.
Yeah, it just was me
It came from
signing
two
it.
people, yeah,
Okay.
you and Paul.
No, I think just.
Or you could even put it out to the community.
did it come from
and
Paul?
Tell them to reach out to their council members and share,
Which was you and Paul.
Yes.
interest in the community, put that on Facebook. Okay, to jump onto your idea about the bricks. This is just something, if you all recall back at, or down at Pike Place Market, they have blocks, they have fish. Then what if we did something like put a fish on a tile inside the pool? This is like
Yeah.
Yeah.
random idea here,
No, no,
but
no.
I just know like the fish that are leading up from the food market, if you've ever been down to Pike Place Market and the parking garage, there's a food bank down there and I've given them a grant before for wayfinding to find the food bank because nobody knew it was even there. But there are fish on a wall leading upstairs and many of the fish actually have like the Nordstrom's name on it. It's like big dollars going to these fish, but they all gave to Pike Place Market Foundation in order to build that expansion project. So it just started making me think when you mentioned the brick idea,
Yeah.
like how do you incorporate it into a pool setting? And it could be something as simple as that, like.
Yeah,
hi,
I have a
welcome.
bridge in front of the Diamondbacks ball.
Oh, cool.
I have
But
bridges.
just a way for like the community to feel like they're contributing to it. I don't know if every $5 would count or if you'd have to.
I love it. I
Small
just-
fish, big fish, tadpole.
And I like that, like, everyday people, everyday kind of citizens could do it, but I also think it would really help us to generate a potential list of like bigger companies in the
Yeah.
area to reach out to see about different
Like
sponsorship.
Nintendo,
Like Nintendo or Safeway,
Ace Hardware.
yeah, or any of the ones right there on Center Boulevard.
Okay, so we know that.
Yeah.
Taking away some stuff.
Yeah.
Ian is taking notes, or you're taking.
You mean
notes as well?
Carmichael's downtown? Yeah, we gotta keep it local.
So all going early, but I see on the back of the jerseys.
30,000 bricks.
Would it be appropriate to have like is it too low grade,
Let's say it's 3
And,
million that we need to
not
raise.
professional looking enough,
Divided by
to have like a fundraising
3,000.
box at the event, splash pad event and like Big Truck Day, like if you're gonna have a table that talks about the project anyway, could you say, hey, donate here, just to get even like small amounts of cash or people there.
I don't think we're in a
doing something?
position to do that, just being government, taking donations, what account that we
Yeah,
put it
that's what I'm
into.
asking,
So
okay.
it could be, I mean, just again, we're just like throwing paint on the wall right now, right? Like
Yeah.
it could be would maybe pledges, like I pledge or get back to me or something like that.
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing Jeff and Ethan say is maybe at the splash pad, what you're doing is maybe you guys are here and you have like a Parks and Events Commission spot or booth, and that's where you're like, do you support, and I don't know what it is it blue post and no blue post, whatever, so you're like engaging with the community, cause really we haven't had you guys do that, it's been staff. You do it, you're the ambassadors to the community, you're getting a feel for the vibe of the community, do they want that, get that information in hand, and then maybe that will parlay to council, yes, okay, they do support this. And or the county, maybe we say, we did this splash pad opening, it's kind of like the sister projects in a way, like which came first, the little egg, the splash pad, and then the pool. And 333 people came to the splash pad event and they told us that they want this pool. and you send that on to the county. Again, I'm throwing paint on the wall.
Well, no, that's
I love
right. I think that's kind of the message, right?
Yeah.
That if the splash pad, it needs to be something that says, if you want to do this, we need support.
Mhm.
And that includes money. Right? And these are some of the things that we're doing. Get involved.
We could take a group photo with a big old banner that says, build our pool.
I mean, so there's a writing to legislators armed this.
Yep.
And then there's a commission motivated with ideas
Yes,
package
list that we're
list
generating,
to go to the mayor.
and then there's
Would
two.
it, should it go in front of your council group before it goes to the mayor?
No, I think you go
It-
directly.
It'd be more formal
I
that
think
way,
you go directly to the mayor.
directly to the
Community
mayor,
support, right?
Yeah.
This is-
okay? And then there's an advertising somehow, some way. And just letting people know, hey, we need money, because a lot of folks out there, like someone was saying earlier. Probably, they just think the pool's being built, they're none the wiser.
They think it's done deal. That's the message.
think-
It's like,
right.
we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I have,
And then there's the two events, right? There's the splash pad and then
And
the
big
big
truck
truck
day
day
in
that we
June.
could be present at
Yeah, big truck day. Excellent.
and
Yeah.
kind of generate interest and talk about it.
And generating an interest in the public to write to these specific
Yeah.
Yeah, to step up and.
figures and say, hey, we really need this pool. You need this pool in this region.
Is there, could city halls, who's your PR person? Would, that would be you,
Mhm, mhm.
like in newsletters and things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, be of support in some way
Oh.
to any of that?
Of course, I
Okay.
mean, I will tell you, to get that King County grant together was a massive lift for a
Just
core
let people
group of
work on it.
staff. A lot of hours and time and energy went into that at a time when there were some competing projects, because it was a priority from leadership. So this staff, like Jeff says, we're agnostic, but we were tasked with the job to do this, and so we wanna see it through on behalf of the community. Like, do you want the pool? Great, all the work we're doing is not in vain. You know,
Right.
it's for you.
So it needs to be in congruence with kind of this plan. This kind of multi-pronged plan as a commission that we kind of wanna launch,
It does, but it also sounds like time is of the essence, like we gotta get on.
and it's
these
time
things
sensitive.
I think it is.
Before July, before our next
Yeah.
meeting.
Well, let me ask,
But my-
Councilmember Benson this, has council approved it, or do we get, if you get the grant funding, then do you decide if it's approved?
We have not approved anything
That's
without
the
the
point,
funding,
that's the point that I
yeah,
wanna make, so
yeah, we,
to still provide the community feedback and support, again, I'm just being a liaison here, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
persuade you guys to anything. But they still have a decision to make if the funding comes in, so if the community wants this, what he's saying is, they really haven't heard from people. So they have to know, is this a good spend? Is this how you want us to spend our time and our money?
I have a couple of questions about, one is, if the grant, if we don't by July, August, fill this gap, what happens with the project? Where does that,
That's a council decision. It'll
Right.
either stay in
Is-
limbo and
Right.
continue fundraising efforts, or the council could decide to kill it altogether.
the funding that is in place and that would come through the grant, would that be, are we looking at time limits on those things? Or are they in place and they'll stay there unless it gets voted away?
My suspicion is that once we know what the grant money is, there's still gonna be a gap.
Right,
And there's going to be ideas about how to cover that gap,
right,
right? And it'll be council's decision as to whether or not they wanna take those steps to do that.
right.
That could involve borrowing. Right now is a difficult time to do that, because the city's in a little bit of tricky financial straits with the loss of the police contract.
How much money do we already have though?
17 million.
Could we, sorry, Renee, you're in the room, but could we go back and have the conversation again with the school district, like, this is where we're at and we need $2 million, last chance, are you in, are you out? I mean, is that the kind of stuff that could happen?
And my,
I don't know,
That was based on a budget decision that was made when they were doing budgeting.
I understand.
and we are in the process of doing a survey about a future capital facilities projects. And so questions about what money we might have are in motion.
The funding could be retroactive in that regard, because if you build a pool with the swimming lanes in it,
Potentially.
then the school district will use it. And they'll support the project after it's built.
Like a rent
Renting
space,
the
they'll be a
pool,
tenant or
right,
they'll
exactly,
get
right.
lap time or whatever.
Well, and that's what I was that was my other question, is at the funding level that we're talking about right now, which version of the pool is that?
Which version?
Yeah.
How big is the
You
pool, the
mean
number of lanes
base-
you mean?
How many lanes,
Considering-
how many?
Yeah, it's a 6-lane pool.
It's the 6
Then it
lane.
has a, what they call a recreational pool, but that's actually where it's kind of for therapy for, older folks to do therapy. And it's also where the majority of the swimming lessons will take place,
Yeah.
especially for the younger kids.
So this funding is the 6 lane.
Yeah, the 6-lane option with the
Okay.
rec pool. And we should,
Okay,
yeah. But from what I understand, that little rec pool will generate a lot of money because a
right.
lot of the swimming lessons will take place there.
Yeah.
Right, so it's kind
And
of
birthday parties.
birthday, yeah, so we have a community
Yes,
where
I do have
there's,
birthday
if you've seen the plans for it, it covers a lot of bases. So it'll support, the senior citizens groups, it'll support community activities, there'll be rental flex rooms, flex spaces, plus lots of exercise opportunities.
As is
Childcare,
not hard to imagine in the school system, which version of the pool is on the table
it is the
Is part of the
6-lane act, it
conversation.
wouldn't be viable economically without the 6-lane.
without that. I wondered when I was looking at a 4 lane and I'm like,
Yeah, it didn't say that how much money to go with the 4-lane pool,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have the same economic viability as the 6-lane
Okay.
does, where they can have swim meets.
So for the, sorry, did you?
nope,
Okay.
those were my 2, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the letters again, just so that we really talked that through. So this group would draft a letter, you'd give us some input. Would one of us, should one of us raise our hands and be like, I will write the letter?
Or draft.
Yes,
Yeah, but I
Okay.
mean,
I
we
think
could,
that's a.
we could
somebody
send you
needs to
draft
take
like a
the-
starting
the
point,
lead
yeah.
on it, yeah.
Mhm. Okay, um,
How do I doing that? Oh yeah, Paul's raising his hand.
I'm willing to collaborate with staff or any other commissioners on a letter, so.
So it's a letter, a follow-up letter to the county, say, hey, you've got the grant, you're reviewing it, we're just reminding you.
I'd like to see what was sent before, because I don't have any history of prior correspondence with Olympia or powers that be out
You
there
can
in the
send
world.
Yeah, you mean the one that they sent me to sign? Yeah.
Which is the first time hearing about
Is this
it.
going to Olympia or is this going to King County Council? No, it's King County Council.
Okay. And maybe it's a one primary party and you CC the other parties, or separate letters to multiple parties, I don't know. But the same letter, or,
So it sounds like, yeah, we want a letter from our commission.
Mhm.
And then it also sounds like it would be really helpful to potentially generate like a template or at least very specific language if we're gonna reach out to community members and guide them on how to write, who to write to and what
Yeah,
to
you can do
write.
the form letter and just people can send that to their representatives.
Yeah, so Paul, do you wanna
Sure.
take on the one from the commission and somebody else could take on the one that's?
Do you feel like reaching out to the
Residents?
community, like on Facebook per se, do you feel like that should be?
Cause you could see my face
Oh,
reading
yeah,
the
well,
thoughts
I'm
in my
just-
head.
well, Cause I mean,
Yeah, no, I think,
I almost feel like it should come from, if there is an ask to the community at this point, it feels like it should come from City of Snoqualmie government Facebook page, and then one of us shares it out on the local pages. Because then it doesn't feel like, just from the perspective of working in like government and nonprofit space, if I saw something coming from a community member versus like, oh, they have an ask, let me click on that link and go to Councilmember Balducci, not Balducci, Sarah Perry, email and reach out to her and let her know, and here's the language that I'm copying and pasting.
Yep.
I just feel like it should come from the city, and tell me what you think. So-
I'm gonna wanna defer and talk to my colleague, Dana McCall, the communications manager, and see what she says. Cause at first thought, I was thinking anything that's coming up in the grant, I feel should come again from the Parks and Events Commission, and we have more of you now, you can sign your own names. What's going out into the community, this is where I need to ask Dana, cause I'm thinking you as community members represent yourselves.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I volunteer on the Parks and Events Commission, I personally believe in this pool, if you too believe in it, this is what we're trying to gather, but I need to check with Dana, because maybe a letter or a call out, on behalf of, the city. I'll check with Dana, she's back in the office tomorrow, I don't know, Jeff, Dina, do you guys have a?
Yeah, are we
No,
officially
they're
representing the
opinion
city,
either
or are we representing ourselves?
I know,
Then
I know.
happen to be on the commission.
I think you're gonna want a significant number of people representing themselves to support it,
Yeah,
right?
Not, yeah.
cause
not-
you represent the Parks and Events Commission, so you can do that, right? You
Yeah.
can claim that you're one group, but. That's the role you serve for the
Mhm.
city is you're, like I always use the word ambassadors, and that's where you go out and you.
Yeah.
You say to your friends and neighbors, look, I sit in these meetings and I talk with people and I'm sharing the knowledge that I have and this is what I wanna do, let me impart my knowledge on
Mhm.
you, this is what I think you should do.
Right.
If you want a pool.
And I could see the 5 of us doing like, imagine, okay, there's 5 of us, if we each reached out to 5 people and had those 5 individuals send an email, that's 25 emails going in. I almost feel like a
Email
Facebook post
Yeah.
to like Snoqualmie Ridge community is almost gonna draw up controversy.
Oh, totally.
Because
Totally.
people are at odds with this decision, I mean, we've seen it many
I'm not
times.
even on it
Um,
for those reasons.
Yeah, and
I could probably, I'm more comfortable doing it something with my neighborhood
Yes.
Facebook page, which
Yeah.
is
mhm,
way less contentious.
mhm,
Mostly about, missing cats or leftover food or whatever.
yeah.
Buy nothing.
Yeah.
Buy a pool.
And then something like that potentially could get shared.
Yeah, like
At least it's not by us.
Yeah, I just feel like you're gonna get people actually responding if we reach out to like 5 individual friends and
Yeah,
ask them
true.
to like really have them have that conversation.
Old fashioned chain letter.
Yes.
So,
Jeff's the only one in the room that looked at me because he knew what a chain letter was.
No.
so when this meeting is over, I am ready to write the letter.
Yeah.
And- But I know that we all have to go home, so I am available to you. To get together and punch something out, whenever your schedule allows, it could be tomorrow,
So why don't you follow up with them on your
Okay.
own, would that work?
okay,
Just so
that'd be
we can
fine.
keep,
Who should I follow up with?
right, John?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah, you can send it
Just
to
like
me,
that.
I'm gonna route it through the mayor's office, so, right?
Say again,
Anything you send me, any letter, I'm gonna route through Dana and the
Okay.
mayor's office so that
Yeah.
they can review it, cause I think they're trying to control the message to some
Yes.
degree.
well,
Yeah.
that's why I need collaborative help in putting this together, we can't do this in a vacuum.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
collaboration you'll get, I mean,
Okay.
they will look at it, they'll review it, and if they like it, they might recommend some word adjustments.
And hopefully Jeff can share the letter that.
I
Yeah,
can't
I can send
write
you
the
that.
letter without
I
some
got it,
final
I'm gonna
stats.
send it to you.
So, yeah, can you send it to my AZWA Glassworks?
Then can we take that
I
letter
can
and
give
like
that-
this,
I can give
use
that
as
to you.
Okay.
like 1 paragraph version that our friend neighbor network can.
Is anybody here comfortable doing
I'll
that?
write it down for
Sure.
you.
You wanna do that, Hadley?
Yeah.
So from there, so we can't do a group email, right? Cause we
Yep.
have quorum, so it'll be piecemeal.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's something like Paul finishes this letter, sends it to each of us individually.
Yep.
Maybe we can use Adobe to e-sign it or whatever. Old school, meet in a clandestine manner to sign in person. And then separately, one by one, and then he can send you that letter too, and
Like
have
follow
you
up.
do a draft, and then
Thank
send
you.
it to each of us separately.
Great, okay.
Yeah.
And then would it be worthwhile to try to involve whatever the North Bend or the Carnation or the Fall City equivalent of this group is in this effort? Like, could they also send letters? Cause they benefit from this.
Yeah.
Well, you can try, but like the city of North Bend.
Yeah.
is
So
not-
did they start
officially
meeting
not putting
recently? I
forth
don't know.
any.
That's where
You
like
gotta
my
realize,
attention
Okay,
there's
is.
fine.
a whole bunch of things going on there in the
Okay.
background, right? So site, you
On the
tried to
street.
do this, So
my-
you
my
had a
kid
$4
just
million
Snoqualmie
grant.
resident.
There's a group
They had
working on a
two or
valley.
three Levy tries at it. They lost their
That's
grant,
where North Bend.
so
They just kind of started.
there's some sour grapes
Lots of
over on
It's
the north.
lots
end.
of
like
Yeah.
there's a
Okay.
starting
Right.
point.
It's a good question to have.
There was
asked.
some communication or support with the grant from other valley cities, but
Fair enough.
I don't know what the finished product had in that.
I don't know what we got for
The
support.
mayor did seek support from neighboring communities for support, seeing that it was about, but I don't know what letters were included in that.
I think
Okay.
there's a push by side view to say, you know, hey, this should be a combined effort. We should be
Yes.
pooling our resources together and doing a central pool between the two cities, but. You know, we've got the $17 million, they got squat, right? And they wanna put it in their in North Bend. We're like, well, you bring your $17 million and we'll talk, right?
Yeah.
So, but we've tried multiple times to invite them in on the conversation and doing a pool, and they're inflexible on where it goes and.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they don't, and they're not bringing anything to the table, so.
So as a commission, are we only, when we send a letter or email, are we only reaching out to Councilmember Perry, or are we reaching out to the entire council? Like, if I individually reach out,
I don't know who the selection committee is, maybe Deanna might have a better.
Yeah, cause
idea.
I was thinking the same thing, we need to find that out, because
Yeah.
if it's a council vote, then you wanna blanket all of them, not just Sarah.
I'm
yeah.
guessing that the selection committee is a lot of people in their parks division.
I was
Okay.
gonna say, they have a committee like this
Right,
Mhm.
that
Grant review
works,
committee.
that comes together specifically for
right.
grants each
So we
year.
want to land on their
On the
desk.
committee side,
Yeah.
okay.
So it sounds like that's not an email coming to Hadley. Can I be included in that too? Since then there'd be two of us, just in the
Sure.
email, just so I'm in the know.
Mhm.
And then we don't have a quorum.
Maybe make sure I
Um,
understand, what is that email?
Who to
Who
write
send
to,
it
yeah,
right,
who to send
okay,
it
all right,
to.
got it.
And then kind of once we have the draft version of Paul's letter, you can take that on, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm
Okay,
just.
we'll get to that too.
Okay, sounds like too, for just sake of time,
Mhm.
and with what's coming up the next couple months, it might behoove us to pick a couple people to help with the splash pad and potentially the big truck day, if we're gonna fit that in. Was that June 26th?
June 26th.
We can be able to generate ideas of how we wanna approach it. And hopefully as many of us can make it as possible, and you can just send out a notice of potential quorum, Dina, or however that works. But do we have a couple volunteers?
June 26th is splash pad open.
No, June
No,
6th
June
is splash
6th.
pad.
June 6th,
Friday,
June
I
26th.
will not be in
June
town.
26th is
And I will be there at that event.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that Thursday, the 26th, for the.
I will be at both, but I also want a chance to experience it with my
I was gonna say,
3-year-old.
you're gonna have a little
I know,
advantage
so
too,
do I.
yeah.
Yeah,
I can volunteer, I don't
so I don't mind
I was-
like getting ready for it and helping with the preparation, but I'd love it if I could leave the table.
We still have to
and
chase
my
after children.
Go through this one.
How old are yours?
5 and 6 and a half, and my
And
5-year-old
so
is.
I don't know
Those
how
are
long
right.
it'll last, but I could.
I hope
Have
we
you been
can
to-
do weather.
For a
Have you
while.
been to Big Truck
Okay,
before?
great.
Oh, I have, yeah.
Okay, cool.
But it's always during the
Okay,
day,
awesome.
Yeah.
I
middle of
know,
the week.
I'm happy
I
to
know.
assist
We send
up
an
to
annual.
26th.
thank you.
This
is
is
my grandparents.
At the big
so
truck.
it's
grandparents.
It's very
Sure.
fun.
Sure, I
I'm
don't
not
know
against
anything
it.
about it, so I'm happy to jump in.
Do we have two people who wanna kind of maybe work with Nicole on what that would look like? Would you be the right person, Nicole, or are we?
Yeah, I think, yeah, we can figure it out. We've got like a tent we can put you under at each of those events and a table, and however you guys see this going down, you know, is it an easel with papers and Post-its, you know, or is it a yes and hashtags? I mean, we could keep it simple, but
I'm
yeah,
happy to work with you on it, I'm just thinking through this now, like what is that?
Yeah.
Understanding of the splash pad, like,
yeah.
is it just reach out to your council member and let them know your interest, or reach out to council and let them know that you're interested in this? Is it gathering more feedback from the community with some type of polling to then share again with you prior to a vote?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's really helpful info.
both of those.
Those are, I mean, those are all great things. I think it's also, again, pressure on county to pull the trigger on that grant. I don't know I mean,
County's been invited to the splash pad event.
Do we have the letter drafted by then? Could we pass out
Mhm.
kind of a template of letter? So we're not on Facebook. It's more kind of a one-on-one experience. Hey, if you're interested in writing to so-and-so, here's a letter that you can send them. Or then we have to print it out though.
Mhm.
And we all want to
I'm trying to make this
I was
as easy
gonna
for
say,
people as possible.
Maybe if there was like a card or something with a short, but mostly those are just gonna get
Yeah.
lost. We might be able to do a QR code option that could put people through to.
But as a parent, like, I'm not gonna wanna do a QR code while I'm there with my kids, like, I'm also not gonna wanna take a piece of paper, honestly.
I was gonna say, yeah, just something, yeah, very simple.
Would you like take a picture, like if there was just a little like,
Yeah.
here's the person to email,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like.
I feel like as like a parent, I would do that, cause I have my kids out on my phone already.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could try to have, that could be one of the things on the table.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to help. It
Yeah,
sounds
so
like you're
what was that
interested
last
in
part? I feel like
that,
that's
and I'm happy to
something
help with
that's
that
on my
too.
to-do list now. What's on the table?
How about I don't feel like we need to necessarily come to a decision
people have
now.
like, took pictures on the splash pad. You know, just with like a caption that said, this really needs to be deeper.
We didn't need a lifeguard today, but we really want to.
What if the council members were at that table as well? And saying, hey, we're listening here today, we're seeking more input about what your thoughts are about
Oh,
next steps.
I'm very interested in, what's the date, the June first?
June
June
sixth.
sixth.
June sixth at 2 p.m.
Yeah. As soon as my D-Day,
Graduation.
you know, my D-Day, celebration is over, I'll be there. Yeah.
So I know Boys Weekend planned in the Bay Area last
That's
for the
lovely.
holidays. So
So Amanda, what I'm hearing is that you and I are interested in potentially being a part of looking at how that would work.
Mhm.
And that we could generate that kind of offline.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, just to figure out exactly what that looks like and then run it by each of you.
I'm sorry, cheese brain here. Where did we land with the list of suggestions to the mayor?
I think
Oh, for funding?
fundraising ideas.
Fundraising ideas?
I think your biggest bang for your efforts is getting the county to pull the trigger on that grant.
Mhm.
Right,
That's the biggest, if you pour your effort into that,
we will.
So that's the.
We want
It's
that.
reach out to your
Yeah.
council members, reach out to the commission.
I was gonna say, for me, like when I look at the list that we generated, one of the things that I really, really love, regardless of if we needed the money or not, is the kind of fish thing
The tiles.
built into the environment of the
Community
pool,
owned,
build,
yeah.
it's
Yeah, I love
community.
that too.
I mean, that is, I don't know, I don't go anywhere where I see that
Mhm.
built into the space and don't just love it.
You know who else did something like that is, if any of you have been to Encompass lately, but when you walk into their new
Yeah.
space, it's beautiful. They have this beautiful tree at the entrance and it's all these tiles, again, with community member names who have contributed to the funding of that space.
I mean, this project will have an art element that's paid
Mhm.
with the art dollars in the building, but it's nice, it could have something additional. I think the goal was maybe like some sort of a mural in the pool area.
Yeah,
The
I think the
art project.
value is, and I saw this on the seawall project, they sold a lot of bricks. It doesn't generate a lot of money.
No.
However, what it does do is demonstrate a lot of community support,
Mhm.
right? And so that's kind of the thing that you need to get
The
a
buy-in.
project like this to move forward, is the demonstration of the community support.
Mhm.
So I think that's not a bad idea. We did talk about it a little bit. I think that there's a fair bit of effort to go about doing it. There are organizations out there that will help you with it though.
I think you
They
could,
take their cut, of course.
you could reach out to those larger organizations for sponsorships for the room,
Mhm.
designate, like naming rights.
Yeah.
Naming rights, pool naming rights, et cetera.
Conference rooms
Where
or
was it?
fitness room or whatever.
Mhm.
And that could be one of those gap
Sponsors.
efforts that we're talking about.
Yeah, as far as kind of the list generated, you and I could get together and kind of fine tune it for anybody. But then potentially meet with Mayor Ross, go over it, or at least kind of make sure it's
Yes.
solidified and email it to her. I don't know what her preference is, if we'd have to make it, if we get more attention, if we show up in person and kind of actually sit down with her to say, this is what we've come up with
I
as a
like that
commission.
idea.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, if you can get her, if you can get
Get
her.
on her calendar.
Yeah, get on her calendar, that's a good idea.
Can we get on the mayor's calendar? Are we worthy?
Not tonight.
We'll follow up in
Thank you.
an email.
Okay.
Does that make sense to have it be you?
Yes,
You and I?
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
I
do
think so.
that, and because I was the knucklehead that went down the list and threw out all the dumb ideas, so.
Your dumb idea.
I'm coming to your
Some of
house
those
and
were
we're
pretty good, I thought.
collaborating, all
I
right?
think we can take out some of the
I wanna get
ones
some
that maybe aren't
council
feasible
support on
and
this.
add
Take
fish.
out the hospital.
Yeah.
Not public hospital.
Yeah.
No, yes, I'm just hoping for a 3,000 foot view of the dog park playground cricket, when we talk about
Yes.
cricket.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so, yeah,
just bring us
but-
back to our
but-
last agenda item, which is priority list.
Yes.
So we kind of
Right,
jumped it ahead, but
Yeah.
coming back to the priority list, because I also really like us to generate some ideas too. So hearing what Jeff has to say, but also coming up with some of our own
Yeah.
things too.
Well, yeah, let's talk about dog park, because that's something that is become a priority. When we did the pros plan, we did the public outreach, that was one of the things that got the biggest response. Was that folks, especially on the ridge, they want a dog park on the ridge.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we've looked at the various sites, options that are available. We could do small dog parks, but they're not very attractive, and small dog parks just aren't very good. I mean, if it does, you need kind of enough room to throw a ball, right? It needs to be big enough for dogs to run. So the smaller options, the smaller park options, when we go and look at them, we just, you know, usually there's no parking there. There's, you know, they might be centrally located, and, you know, I think, you know, I would say a huge portion of the people that are gonna visit this dog park are gonna walk, right, so from the ridge. We found one that we think is the best, and it's at Stellar Park, and it's currently a baseball field.
Yeah.
But it gets very little use. During baseball season, it's T-ball size. And we get a few games on there, but I'd say 90% of the activity on that field is people throwing balls for their dogs. You know, and so it's already got the fencing. And it would need just a little bit more fencing to get it in shape, and that's really all we need to do to get it into a dog park. Some signage, maybe some gated entrance where it, you know, they have the double gate thing for dogs, you know, so you can.
Yeah.
And then that's about it. So it's a low cost, you know, low effort opportunity and has parking, and there's playground right there. There's a bathroom, there's a playground. So a person could bring their dog and their kids, you know, and let them both play. So we like that idea, and it's something that we to move forward with this summer.
Would you do two gated entrances because of the trail being right there as well?
I'm thinking just one, but we could maybe look at two.
I guess you could have people like walk.
We could do one
in
on
front of
either,
it or
kind of one on
something,
either side.
because it does have the pathway.
Yeah, it's really in the front, but you know, we could do two, doesn't.
Because it's right along the Silent Creek Trail right there.
Yeah, right.
I like
So
that
that's
idea.
one that, you know, we're talking about trying to move forward this year, because we can, you know, it's something that we can do with little effort. As I mentioned, we're in a bit of a budget crunch, so the prospects, that's dog park, playgrounds is the other one that we want to do.
I have one other question about the dog park
Mhm.
while we're on it. Where's the next closest little league / baseball field?
Carmike, I think is the next one,
Or Tanner Jeans.
or yeah,
right there.
Jeans,
Tanner
yeah.
Jeans.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're both, you know, there's plenty of baseball field
And field time and field space.
and field space,
Actually,
yeah,
it's Cascade View. That's the one they use, and it's right
Yeah.
across the street from that,
yeah, not far from, yeah.
because Falls uses that field all the time.
Yeah, so there's other baseball fields, so we think that there's enough baseball fields around to support all of the baseball, you know, some activities that take place,
And
so.
because I don't know the history of the funding of specific fields, I know we've done a lot of partnerships with other organizations. Does Stellar fall into any kind of contract, or is it just like, we built it, it's an option? Does that make sense?
No, I didn't quite understand. what you-
So I know that a lot of the fields that get built are in partnership with like a rec league or a,
No,
right?
no,
And
we
so
we
this
don't
one
have
is
any
just,
obligations, it's,
Okay.
yeah, it's not encumbered with any kind of contractual obligation on that field that we're aware of, I'm certain of it.
I'd like to say, just again, asking you guys as ambassadors is to help us be the support out there. And I just go, a couple of years ago, we tried to do a dog park and it kind of happened quickly in a little bit of neighborhood and we quickly pulled it
The
because.
mini dog park?
Which was just a test pilot, but people lost their mind.
A bunch of COVID.
Yeah, and we shut it down, but the messaging we got was, this is our neighborhood park, this is beloved. So there is going to be people that are like, this is our park, this is our neighborhood park, this is beloved. And so just trying to balance
I
that.
think
So that's where I feel
we're
like that
more
ambassadorship of you guys to say, look, the pros plan said a dog park,
I
so.
was gonna say the pros plan supports that.
Right, and they've done the analysis and this is why in the budget crunch, but there's still gonna be the haters, so it's.
Are you gonna have Lake Alice haters since that's right against
The
Lake
the
Alice
only
too?
people that are gonna complain.
They're not in our community, so it's like, we don't have to owe them anything.
Right, but they have fields.
Yeah.
well, and that's something that we can preempt by talking to them on the front end and saying, hey, we, you know, this is what we're looking at. Does that seem right to you that you have enough space? They'll say yes if they, you know, like, and if not, we'll be able to be like, well, maybe we can come up with a different. But we could preempt some of their negative by going ahead of the conversation.
Well, I think
Give a
we'll
heads up.
definitely have to push out the messaging.
Yeah, but the messaging isn't, hey, what are your thoughts on this? The
No.
messaging is, we've identified this is the best part,
Yeah,
you know? I mean, we learned a lot when we did something kind of quickly. Granted, it was a test pilot, but that still didn't make people happy, so we learned.
if it were going in across the street from me, I would be mostly worried about people not cleaning up after their pets. That would be my biggest worry, is
Yeah.
that it would smell in my neighborhood. So, because I think we've all had a neighbor at one time or another that didn't clean up after their pet. I mean, it's not subtle. So if we have mechanisms in place, that might
It's
be.
the poop stations and the poop bag stations,
Yeah, and just
Maybe
making
a lot of
sure,
that
yes,
signage.
that's.
That's poop station, because you don't want to put the poop in the station, but the dog, the vet, yeah, yeah.
Anyways, the like communication about the plan of how to mitigate those kinds of issues is.
I think you're still gonna have people that are in that neighborhood,
Of
the
course,
neighborhood be
no.
upset about
We
the
know
noise.
the neighborhood.
That's gonna,
I
We
guess
know
we
that
don't
neighborhood.
worry about, I
And
mean,
we-
people will be
Sounds fun.
upset. That's,
We actually.
it's normal, change is hard.
Yeah, and we did a
It's
street
hard.
tree program. and
It is hard.
we
It's hard,
replaced
yeah.
all of the
It's
trees.
hard.
Oh,
Came at me.
fair
Yeah,
enough.
and so there was a lot of people who came out initially, to find out what we were doing, why are you replacing our trees? And we explained to them why.
Yeah.
And they became very supportive, so, I think that neighborhood is, I don't think that,
Communication,
I don't think that they're gonna be hugely opposed to a dog park.
No.
It's a good spot, right? I
It's
mean,
a really great
there's
spot.
really no lot of
Out of all
houses
the
around.
areas, like it's
Couple houses across
very
the street.
walkable,
Yeah,
people walk down that trail all the time, because
I love them to death.
it's a little further down.
yeah, as long, not cutting off the trail,
Mhm.
and, communication is so important, it makes people. You don't have to ask permission, but it makes people feel like they didn't just have something sprung on them.
Yeah.
Anyway, and of course, there's always gonna be some people who don't like, that's, of course.
yeah, of course.
I think another way.
Stellar dog park.
You're stellar dog. See, you do have skills.
We could maybe generate a bunch of ambassadors by posting the update at the current dog park.
Mm.
Because those are people that are already like pro dog park,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I don't know how many people come down from the ridge to go
A
there.
lot of people,
Oh, yeah.
there's elk poop in that park, and so
Yeah.
when you take your dog there, they're either eating the elk poop or running through the elk poop.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's terrible,
for the
I
view.
stopped
They
taking
have
my
running
dog
elk
there,
poop.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
So, yeah. elk
I
fight.
love
The elk will love it, they'll be like, awesome, we have more room.
Okay, so I just have to ask you a
I was
question.
gonna say, is this really, there's another sales point, we're saving the territory for the elk.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm very okay with.
Your dog will not come back smiling.
There you go.
Okay, so I do have a question for you because
Yeah.
that park is connected with the, open space to a park that needs a new floor on it, because that is the park, Stellar Park is the one that has the
playground.
playground,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Alright.
We're doing, so that is
Playground
one of the
has,
things we're doing this summer.
okay,
I was
I
gonna get
just,
to
I
that.
feel like you're gonna have people that are like, but what about this part of the
So,
park?
Yeah.
so we have a
Okay, good.
program in our CAP, which is playground replacement program. This is the last item. And so we have a schedule for replacing play equipment. And Silent Creek Playground is in pretty bad shape. Right,
Mhm.
that the play equipment there is old and it's maintenance intensive. But because of the budget crunch that we're in this year, and the cash flow problem, we need to slide some projects back. And that is gonna be one of the projects we slide back. So instead of spending the money to replace all that play equipment, which is very expensive, we are going to instead use much less of the money in that program to do repairs on many of the other parks. So Raven, there's one at Hoff, there's, of course, Silent Creek, and then at Stellar. We're gonna do some repairs on those, so surfacing repairs, we have some equipment that needs upgrades. And so, we can do that for much less money. And then the other playground replacement projects will slide back at least a year.
Were you still thinking about removing that park? Cause you had talked at the last meeting about that one off Silent Creek there, the wooden one, the little mini wooden one.
Yeah.
Removing that equipment and then just potentially having just the one park down the road.
I don't know. I don't know if where that is in our schedule. I'll have to look at that.
I can just tell you from living right there in that community, people don't use that little wooden park.
Right,
Because the equipment is.
right.
old,
And it's
you don't want
one
kids
of the
to-
reasons why we recommended removing it. But
Mhm.
there's a cost to removing things too. So we have to
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
gauge, where we're gonna spend our money and what we're gonna spend it on. Some things are easy lifts, right?
Yeah.
Maintaining existing equipment is easy to sell to the public. Removing a park is just gonna generate opposition. So, we're looking for low hanging fruit here
Okay.
and trying to save money.
Well, that's exciting then about the floor of Stellar because
Yeah,
that
one
is
spot
very
there is
expensive to
really-
replace
yeah,
that, but
expensive stuff.
I've almost twisted my ankle on the floor there. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have others. I mean, Gene has some spots. There's some other places that need that kind of maintenance. So we have an operations budget. Right? This is all general fund money, so it's not supported by the utility. And the general fund is the pot of money, the bucket of money that is in trouble right now. And so we have to be careful about what we spend. So there's the operations side, and we had just got through our biannual budgeting process at the end of last year. So we have basically 2 years worth of money we can now go over. And right now we're in a cash crunch. So next year we'll be in better shape, but right now there's just isn't the cash coming in to support a lot of spending. So we have to be mindful of that. Hopefully the situation will improve by next year, by 2026, and we can play a little catch up. But,
Well, it
we have to
sounds
be
like-
careful about, deferring too much maintenance to where it gets very expensive or there's liability.
Well, I was gonna say, it sounds like you guys are focusing on the safety side of what needs to be done now.
Right,
So,
right. Health and safety is always good with us.
You guys, so it's 6:57. My suggestion might be to kind of table, we've heard from the city staff about their priority list. To kind of have this conversation again at the
Yes,
July meeting, because I think it's great to follow their priority list, but also potentially generate some topics of interest from us.
sure. It seems like the pool turned into a priority.
Yeah, which is
Some-
great, but I
yeah.
mean, timing wise, absolutely it is. But I do think that like a list like this would be really good to kind of make a little bit more formal or solidify a bit. So let's do that in July.
Can you send us that list?
We're not Friday. I listen to everybody, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So speaking of the July meeting, so at the last meeting,
Oh,
at the last meeting, we decided that we were going to do meetings on the second Tuesday every other month. And the intent, I believe, was to have it after the council meetings because we have committee meetings on the other weeks. However, July,
July's different, right?
yeah, so July,
You have to modify maybe?
Yeah, we'll have to adjust.
yeah, let me just go,
Adjust.
let me, yeah.
Yeah, I still wanna meet at some point, I don't wanna skip anything. This was only 3 left.
So, if we go to the calendar. How do we do that?
Kinda.
But meet in between. that's
So,
fine.
because this first week has, right, it
That might be the
starts
day
on
to
a
do it.
Tuesday
Yeah.
instead of on a
Yeah.
Monday. So the second Tuesday would be the 8th, which is when we have committee meetings, so we can't have the meeting then. So I think the intent was to have it on the 15th, not the 8th. So I'm just running it by the commission to see if you're in agreement.
Do we wanna do that? Do we wanna?
What time?
meet
Bump it to the
in
15th.
June?
In July 15th.
No, I know, I was saying, do we want to, is everybody free then? Let's take a look.
That's ahead of your plein air paid out.
Why, thanks, Jeff, yeah. I'll have Arts Commission the night before.
I'm here. Does that work for everybody? Most of us?
Yeah, what date again are we looking at?
July
Say July
15th.
15th.
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's go ahead and just
I mean,
confirm
yes, I can.
Okay,
September's then would be
Yeah, unilaterally make decisions.
I know, there's always the option of doing virtually.
That
The
would be nice.
9th?
You're just there, September 9th, it'd be the second Tuesday.
Yeah, so that's correct.
Yeah,
Everybody has to
Yeah,
be
like,
out.
I want to take my pajama bottoms and
And that's why,
you know.
So then in November, we'll have to, that's a holiday. So then it would be bumped to Wednesday the 12th because that Tuesday's a holiday.
It'd be Wednesday the 12th, or would it be Tuesday the 19th?
Yeah.
Or,
No, it would be Wednesday the 12th.
You would do it on Wednesday
We
instead of
always
next
move them to the
Tuesday,
next.
next day.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we couldn't do it the following week because we have
Okay.
committee.
Entire council. Or committee.
And what do we say the September meeting was?
September, it was
It
okay,
was normal.
the normal, yeah, the 9th. So I think next year when we look at the calendar, if we decide on the meetings, we maybe actually might need to.
Pick the
Set-
months that don't
set
have
the
as many
dates.
things.
Okay.
Right,
So the
instead of just
November
saying,
12th meeting, we would do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
just review the dates next.
So we're still on September 9th?
Yes.
Okay. But we think we're changing November,
To the next day.
Yeah,
right, it's
Wednesday.
Veterans Day, gotcha.
And July 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thanks for that. Do we have any items that we want to add specifically for our next meeting? So I would like to recommend that we add the priority list. Open to then. I also, I don't know if we're adding this next meeting, but I want to talk about, at the last meeting, you guys, Amanda and Paul, we talked about having one of us present kind of what's discussed at our every other month meeting to
Right.
the Parks and Public Works Committee meeting. Does anybody want to volunteer to do that? I did it last time in April.
You did an excellent job, by the way.
Thank you.
So,
Would anybody
When would
like to
that
do
be?
that? When would that be? Probably the one in June. Right?
and just encapsulate in bullet point what we talked about tonight.
Yeah, it's really, I think the whole point was just to improve our communication and be more present. To help these guys kind of know what's going on. I mean, poor Ethan has to hear it twice, but kind of a way to show up and share what
That's
we're
what I live
doing.
for.
I'm always happy to show up and do something like that. Which day is that though?
Yeah, I was looking at you, do you know, or Dina?
It's gonna be either June 3rd or the 17th.
Okay.
Does one of the new commissioners want to cut their teeth?
So we could all just.
What if you did it the 17th and you provided feedback as to how the splash pad interaction? went?
Good idea.
Or would it
Why don't
be
we do
useful
that?
to do it before the splash pad so you can coordinate events?
Either one, Jeff, that's a good point.
But is 3 days ahead enough, or do we need to bump back into a May?
Still like reporting after would be helpful before, like just, do you think reporting after, like on at the June 17th meeting, sharing out?
I think
Here's
every
what-
opportunity that you can get to remind councilmen about events that you want to see them at is a good idea.
Oh, right.
So I would defer to whatever Nicole thinks, but I know that
Well, I'm a Gemini and I see both sides and I can't. I can't say that Jeff, I'm like, geez, Jeff, you're gunning for the type of work that I do. Outreach, but I've been doing this for a long time, so I could go either way. I mean, we will notice council members and ask them to be there, and
Yeah.
it's a very popular project that's been, you know, waiting for a long time to complete, so I don't think that you being there is gonna be the invitation that's gonna put them over the edge to attend. I think they will attend, but you also could announce, we're going to be there and we're gonna be having a booth and we're gonna be asking for feedback on the pool. Stop by the booth, hang out with us for a bit.
When's the next meeting in May? What if we went to is there one more meeting in May? For Parks and Public Works? Or is the next one June
Yeah, there'd be
3rd?
another one.
Oh, you mean like announce this is what your plan is and then show up on the,
Yeah, so what if we did it twice? What if we showed up at the last meeting in May and said, this is what we talked about at the commission
When
meeting?
is the last meeting?
And these are our ideas maybe for fundraising, we're gonna write to the mayor, we're gonna
20th.
set a letter campaign, all of it.
So that's what.
And then we have
Doing it
someone
back in
get
July.
follow up
Right,
with
agenda.
specifically what happened at
I
this
mean,
last year.
Yeah, you'd have to decide now, because we have to get you on that agenda, we'd have to know by tomorrow.
cause it's Monday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Committee.
Well, committee, I was thinking council, my bad.
I was
you're
gonna
not
say, I
going for
can
council.
do the one in June, but I can't do the one.
I can
Sorry, what
do the 17th, but I can't.
I can,
You know why
I
I'm
can
afraid to
be-
commit? It's because of the closing of the intersection. And like whether I can get here in time. Oh
so
my gosh,
next
was it
week,
7?
uh,
Yeah, I could probably get there, get here in time.
You could Zoom.
so what day?
No, we're talking the
next week?
council, not the council meetings, but the Parks and Public Works Committee.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but the
It's putting it
interchange is still.
5 or
5
4.
o'clock.
5 o'clock.
And
Five
Tuesday.
o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Next Tuesday at 5?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy to
Okay.
give them the update from this meeting
Okay,
next week. That's what we're doing, the bullet point of what we talked about.
yeah,
Coming down isn't gonna be bad from the parkway, I think it's trying to get.
It's trying to get back.
Home,
Okay,
Anywhere.
okay, so let me.
brutal.
Let's see.
It's landlocked.
So at
well,
5
it's
o'clock.
getting here.
Everybody work remote for a week, but then you have.
I have an event.
Well, there's a chance they could make it, they can come from where else.
You can make, you can only make a right
That's
turn.
that's fine if you can.
You can take a turn
Or you
talking.
interchange.
Yeah,
So-
I'll have to go
Right.
straight to exit 27.
And downtown.
Yeah.
I could
Support
support
downtown.
going on the 17th.
Everybody's just gotta make a right turn and hit that.
Sure.
I'm missing
It's gonna be
nice.
exact for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a long team,
Uh-huh.
so it's okay.
Vacation.
Back to normal.
Go on vacation.
Starting in 2 days, I'm going over.
Tina, can we be put first on the agenda again if possible, so we can
Sure.
sneak in, say our piece?
Because we're special, I mean, we think we're.
That was really nice last time.
You gonna have any materials or?
Yeah, can you create a PowerPoint? Want to? Do you want me to do it?
I'm writing a letter.
It's writing a letter.
Need a PowerPoint that you can share.
All feeling tapped.
I would love you to ferry anything to me so I can just I wanna just be the messenger,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
cause I don't wanna look at this guy for very long.
You could just speak to Paul, I don't think you have to have a.
I get that a lot.
And then if you guys are curious at all, I don't know if you were there last night, but that was a council member.
When do you need that PowerPoint? by?
You can always
Do you need it
attend
tomorrow?
or.
Well,
Okay,
no, I don't need it until
Heckle, try to
Tuesday.
heckle
Till
Paul
Tuesday.
in person. Okay. Watch
We're
on
just gonna talk in
Zoom.
June too.
Just set it the wrong way. Stop
Are you
being
just
annoying.
interview doing June too?
So we're doing, you think both? That's what I'm
Okay.
hearing. So
But in
we're,
June prior or after the classroom?
After.
I was gonna keep it really simple, I don't even.
The 17th.
Did you?
The 17th is June as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
yeah,
Are you?
They'll go on the agenda and then we'll talk.
and it
about
helps me.
what
I like that because
happened.
then I have something to look at.
Amanda.
okay.
Share some photos.
Do you mind
Are you
putting
wanting
you
to
to
do
work?
17?
Yeah, I don't mind. I created for work, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
You guys are gonna take the 17th?
Yep.
Alright,
I did
They'll be
late
playing-
night last
they'll be-
night.
yeah.
do you
They'll be
wanna be
playing,
my
the
partner
kids will
in
be
crime
playing in
next
the
week?
rain if it's.
On,
if it's
what's the
raining.
day I kind of lost the thread on the sheet?
So we,
Tuesday.
next Tuesday, and I do not available, that's fine.
Guys, I gotta go.
Okay.
Good to see y'all. I'm so glad you guys are all together.
Okay.
We adjourn.
5 o'clock.
Sounds like
Motion
a
to
squad
adjourn.
thing. Motion to
Yeah,
adjourn.
he's gonna send me a PowerPoint and I'll bring an extra copy for you and